Yep. So currently we are going back to the test field, right? This is what, so we know that when we click on this, we want to click on submit and cancel, right? When you click on submit, we need to be able to add a new user, and then we should be able to cancel when we want to go back, right? But then let's see. So we need to do handle the submission thing here. We'll do it one by one, step by step. I try to separate this one from the previous one so that this particular logic side is very well understood. And here it depends on your smartness how you want to implement it, how you want to do this thing. But this is how I will do it. That's what I'm showing. Okay, so right now, so we have this, right? When I click on submit and there is nothing inside, we need to show error messages, right? There's nothing inside, right? If I click on submit, nothing should show, nothing should, we need to show error that, oh, submit a name and this thing, we should see errors. And then we see how to handle those errors when we're using test field, right? Now, for test field to work with errors, what should happen? We need to go to each test field, right? And inside it, inside the input decoration, there's a hint test. Immediately after the hint test, there's a border, right? And I'm going to show an, this one is going to be error test. You need to have an error test, right? Beginning is going to be now. If it is now, then nothing is going to be showing on the screen, right? I'm going to do the same thing for input decoration. Just after hint test, I have error test, that is now. Okay, so you can see, let's refresh this. Every moment I try to refresh to show you what you have. Right up to now, nothing is going to happen. I'm clicking on submit, nothing is showing, right? But then you have the error test, so we need to supply some dynamic messages here. But those messages, we cannot be writing them here directly. We need to actually replace the now with an error message. So we are going to say this is a message error test, because this is for the message test field, right? And this one we're going to call it name error test. Okay, but then these things are not defined yet, so you need to go on top of our build and write those functions here. So immediately after the test field controllers, I want to write the error messages, error message variables, and then there is going to be a string that can be accept now, name error test. Another one is string message error test. So I want to define them at the top. They are the one going to take the actual messages, and they can be now. That's why the question mark is there, because when they are now, then the error will go. But if they are not now, then the error, the red thing will come around it. So what we have here is, that's what we are supplying there, right? At the top is just a string that can accept now. So currently they are now, so nothing will show. Let's refresh and see. So let me click on this. Still click on it because these things are now, so nothing will show, right? All right. So we need to be able to modify those stuff. Okay. So when I click on submit, the first thing is to check for errors, right? So we go to the submit on press function. Let me separate them nicely like this. That's how we go to on press child closed, this one to like this. So I'm going to on press. Let's open it, right? Checking for errors. So how do we check for the error? Before the errors, what we need to do is that we need to take the name, collect the name, right? Name, collect the name and messages from the respective controllers. Right now, the actual things are inside the controllers. The controllers contain the name and the message, right? So we need to collect them. Whatever the user will enter, we collect them. Okay, so to collect them, we know that they can be now. So we are going to say string name equals to name controller, right, dot test dot trim. We are adding trim just to make sure that we remove any extra space around it. But you can end at test, right? I think we learned you can do this After test, just close it, and then it will be the name controller dot test. Yeah, name controller dot test. But then you can proceed and do dot trim, right? The trim will make sure that the string is any extra space is removed, but you can stop at test. Okay, the next one, we are also going to do same for the message that we are going to collect the message. So message, we are going to get it from the message controller, because that's where the test has to test dot trim. Trim is just, you can decide to remove it, right? The dot trim, you can decide to remove it, but trim is just better to make sure that any extra space is ignored, is removed. Okay, so we'll be able to, at this point, you collect the name, right? It can be now, right? If there's nothing inside, it can be now. There's something inside, it can be this, right? So now we are going to check if this name shows nothing. If this name shows nothing, what should we do? We need to choose checking for errors, right? If name, um so let's open it and say if name dot is empty, that's what you need to do, right? If the name is empty, what should we say? We are going to say if name is empty, we cannot accept empty, right? That's when we need to update the message error, right? So name error, name error test. Remember, we just did the name error test, right? If there is nothing there, then we put a message inside and say, so name is empty. We are going to say, please give name. Please give a name. That's yeah. So please give a name. That will be the error that will show over there. Let's um, refresh everything. I'm doing hot restart. Um, let's see if we click on submit. This thing, this logic will happen. Right. So first I collect the name. So I click on this, right, and I click on submit. Nothing shows, right? But then let me go out and click again. You see now the error comes. It doesn't show immediately. It doesn't show immediately, right? So the first time it didn't show immediately. But see what happens. You see what happens. You have it doesn't respond immediately. That's the problem now, right? So if it doesn't respond immediately, what do you want? Do you want to do? We would like to do use set state, right? So let's try that and see. Set state. That's what will make sure that the UI is triggered immediately. So the name error test, cutting it and then pasting it here. Okay. So let me hot restart. But see, so what's happening here is that when we press on it, the name variable that we here will take the actual text from the controller, because we say everything we enter into the text is going to be inside the controller. So we first collect the name, and for the text view controller, you also collect that from the controller and give it to this variable called message. Now, for the name that we finally collect, we check if it is empty, meaning the person really actually didn't enter anything. If you didn't enter anything, then we are going to show an error by triggering this particular UI. So if I go to what is this name error test, is going to be the test field. So you see this test field for name error test. This is what is going to be updated, right? This is what is going to be updated. We say that when we're learning the error test field, we say that for the error, if it is now, it's not going to show anything. But if there is, once there's anything string inside, once it is not now, then there will be a red button across the distance. That's why we can see some red thing. But the issue right now, so let me click on submit, right? It didn't show immediately, but if I go click outside and come again, it shows. It's not showing immediately, even though I just did set state. I did set state, but it also didn't trigger immediately. Now, this is what you need to understand. The show dialog, right? The show dialog, the state that we want to change is the change for on the just on the dialog. that change is not occurring on this. If you are making a change on the screen itself, right? When you click on this, you see become kind of quite dark, and then before this one has on it, because it's like there's a simple temporary screen that appears. It's a simple temporary screen that appears. So it's another screen on top of the screen, the our current screen, right? So we are calling it temporarily onto. So we are mounting it simply on our screen just for the meantime, right? Just for the meantime. But if you are using set state, right? Remember that set state belongs to our own screen here, our own screen here. So if you mount this one on top of it, this dialog on top of it, writer will consider it as a different screen. So you need to this screen needs to come with its own state if you want to trigger any change on it immediately. This screen needs to come with its own set state, because if you use set state right now, it's going to be for this normal screen because we are actually putting it inside this, right? But if you go to this new screen, you don't really see it as a screen. This dialog for any change that should show immediately, we need to have its own separate set state from the one. So if you use normal set states right now over here, it doesn't belong to the dialog. It's going to be belonging to our actual screen. So you see when you click on this, right, we use set state. When you click on delete, right, the delete is done here, not the delete is not done here. The change is not happening on this bottom sheet. But this bottom sheet is also another temporary screen, but we are not doing the change on itself. But when it comes to the dialog, right, we want the change to the rebuild to be done immediately on itself, right, on itself, not here. So that's how you need to keep in mind. So how then do we make sure that this one comes with its own screen? So that's when we need to go back to actually make sure that the show dialog that we have here, the alert dialog, we are going to wrap it inside. So first I'm going to cut everything. So this is the alert dialog, right? This is the end of it to the start. I'm going to the return, right? So I'm going to um I'm going to shift it and then cut everything. So I'm going to call stateful builder, right? So that this one will be able to work with our own. So the builder is going to be the one to come, and then yep, let me end it here like this, right? Remember I copied something, right? So here inside this builder for the stateful builder, right? This builder belongs to the stateful builder because we want our alert dialog to experience it. So we need the stateful widget, but then we are going to call it stateful builder. Okay, inside there we are going to call the context, and then we are going to take state, let's call it, yeah, dialog um set dialog set state. It's just a name we are giving to it ourselves, right? Dialog set state, the dialog set state, so that it will be separate from the. Now inside it I'm going to say return, then what we were having initially, right? I just pasted it. What we were having initially, I just pasted it, right? So we have the stateful builder that has its own builder context and dialog set state. This is what we'll be using for the dialog. If we want any change to happen, the dialog, this is the set state for the dialog. So this is what we'll be calling. Okay. So now this is the alert dialog. Okay. This is alert dialog. Then we return our original alert dialog. But then what we are basically doing is that we are wrapping it around stateful builder. If you use this wrap theme, this button is not going to really put everything because this one comes with child and all that. But stateful builder allows you to make sure that only the dialog alone, right, can have change on itself, right, by using its dialog set state. It's very important for you to understand that so that we can separate the set state of the screen that we are on currently from the dialog set state. Okay, so because remember set state calls for rebuild, it calls for rebuild. Okay, let's go to back to where we were. So this is the column. I'm going to close the column. Yes, then we go back to the actions. Inside the actions we have the submit button. So this is the button, and then each on press function we are collecting the name, we are collecting the message, and inside it, instead of doing set state, we are going to say it's going to be dialog set state. Yeah, they are dialog set state now, so that this change will happen. When this change happen, then we are going to make changes to the dialog instead, right? The UI is going to be rebuilt for the just the dialog. So let's how to restart everything and see the change again. It's very important that you understand that set state thing. Set state is called to trigger a UI rebuild. But right now we are putting a temporary dialog. So right now let me click on submit. You see, it shows immediately because that rebuild is going to happen on the dialog, not on the. If you call normal set state, it's going to belong to the one below, the background one. But if you call this dialog set state, because for the help of this stateful builder, because of the stateful builder thing we put around the alert dialog, the stateful builder brings back its own dialog set state, and that's what we are going to call whenever you want the change to happen on the dialog, not on the screen. So if we are going to add users, right? If you are going to finally add a user, we are going to use set state because that set state is going to call a rebuild for the background page because that's where we are actually adding. But for these error changes, we are going to show it here on the dialog itself. I haven't implemented the console yet, right? So what we did so far was just one thing. We say if the name is empty, what happened? If the name is empty, then the dialog says this. We are going to call a rebuild after this action, right? Now that's for the message. So you should check. Let's rewrite. Check for name error. Then we are going to check for the message error. We are going to check for the message error, right? Check for message error as well, right? So we are going to say if message dot is empty, the message is also empty. What we are going to do, we are going to call the dialog set state, right? Let me just copy this. I don't like writing this. Copy, paste, right? Copy, paste. Then this is message error test, but not name error test. So it's going to be message error test. Please give message, right? That's the error test. But this is too much a rebuild. What we need to do is that let me copy this. Copy this. I want to put these two inside one dialog set state. Control V. I'm just cleaning it. Maybe you will get it when I'm done. I want everything to be inside. Let me cut this and paste them here. All right. So I put it inside the dialog set state. So I will not need this separate dialog set state for each of them. The rebuild should be once there's an error. All right. So I'm removing this guy as well and removing this guy as well. So these guys are good. These guys are good. What about this one? Okay. So we are putting everything inside the dialog state, right, for the screen. Okay. So far that's what happens. Let's rebuild and see. Okay. So currently the submit, you see, is showing please give a name, please give a message. Now let me enter something here inside the name. All right, then I click on submit, right? There's nothing should there we have entered something, but this thing should go. But this thing should go, but it's not going. Why? So please give a name and blah blah blah, right? Um okay. So we are going to say that okay, is there an error actually? So we want to keep um a variable at the top here inside the on press, right? We are going to error detector. So we are going to say if you press it, is there any error in our listing? So I'm saying bool error equals to false. So at the beginning we assume there is no error, right? But then if there's an error, if name is empty, we have updated this name error, we use the okay, then error, that error is going to be equal to true, right? If there's an error here too, we are going to say then that error is also going to be equal to true, because these two guys are going to be detecting error. At the beginning we assume there's no error, that's why it's false. But then beginning this guy, okay, there's an oh, now that error is true because you updated something. If that one doesn't occur and this one okay, and then that one is also going to be equal to true. Now we go outside the dialog test it, because that one is going to call for rebuild. Now we are going to say if there is an error, if there's an error, right? That's why if error, because error is going to be either true or false. That's what it contains. So if error, right, there's no specific condition, that condition is itself will be true or not. If error, so if there's an error, what we need to return, we need to stop running the rest of the function. So return here. If there's an error, stop writing the rest of the function, just return, because this function is going to return a void function. The onPress is a void function return. It's waiting for a return void. So what happens is that if there's an error, once any of the errors at the top is true, then let's stop running the rest of the code here, right? So we are going to stop running the rest of the code at this point if there's an error. Okay. But if there is no error, right? If there is an error, we are going to stop, right? So if the name is empty, what do we do? If the name is empty, what do? We return this, right? Else, if that name is not empty, then what do? We say okay, the name error test should remain at now, right? We need to tell okay, the name error test should remain at now, so that this one to do is if there's a message empty, else we're going to say that okay, the message error test should remain at now. That's what's going to happen. But if we detect any error earlier, then we are going to return. We are going to stop running the rest of the function. We are going to add more code, right? The one that will actually add the users, because if there's an error, it's going to run this and the function will stop. But if there's no error, then this guy will be ignored. Then the remaining one will, so we can proceed and add, right? But before we go there, let's test this one. I hope you are following. This is it's a logic thing. It's very intense for beginners, but then I hope that I'm trying my best to make sure that you understand every single thing I'm doing. All right, so let's clear this and re-add this thing. Currently is submit name. Let me hot restart everything. I did this hot reload. Let's hot restart, so everything come back from scratch. So now I click on add, then there's nothing inside. I click on submit, there's an error, right? Then I'm going to add a name inside here and I click on submit. Okay, then they see the first error is gone, right? Because if there's an not error, what we are doing is that we okay, so since the name is no more empty, since this one is not satisfied, it will go to the else, and then we are returning the name error back to now. So that's why it's gone. Okay, then for this one I'm going to also add a message. You can submit. See that once errors is go. So if I go back to the top and I clean this one, So only this guy's error counts, but this one's error did not count because of how I handle them separately nicely, right? But if both of them contain something, oh no, if both of them contain something, then the error will go. But we don't need a name less than 3, right? So you can control that, right? By adding something like if the name is empty or name dot length is less than 3, right? Let's say someone's name, the name cannot be less than 3, right? Then uh, please give a name. There will be an error code, right? So let's see how it shows up. So if I click on submit now, um, it didn't. Okay, let me call again and submit. You see, please give a name because of this length. Length is not 3, right? Okay, but then you can control those ones. I'm going to remove it for now. Okay. So yep. So now we have been able to control all our errors and submit. You see that when I click again, these original ones tests are still inside, right? Submit. I click outside, but they are still inside, right? Let's go to cancel and see. Let's go to before we add the users. Let's go to cancel. So when we are in cancel, when you click on cancel, what should happen? You need to do navigator dot pop contest. Yes, navigator dot pop contest. Let me restart. So what we are basically doing is we are trying to remove when you click on cancel, right? We need to remove, we need to go back. That's what it doesn't. So we are popping. So the dialog should go. That's what the cancel is. Initially it was not doing. Now let's click on submit. Submit give us an error. So let's click inside, click on submit. Okay, the first error is gone. And then this one there's no more error. Please give a message. Even though I gave a message, why is this still saying oh else? Oh, did I delete the else for message? Oh, when else message error text equals to now. Oh, I thought I added it right now. Maybe I did something that's cleaned it. Let's do hot restart. Okay, so let's go back. So if I click on cancel, it goes away. If I click on this, then let's add something. Then click on submit. Only the message I added something. Then I click on submit. Now they are all clear. All errors are cleared now. Okay, we've been able to handle errors now, and we can able to go back. Now let's go and add users. Now we want to add the users to the original list, the one in the background, right? The original list of the one in the background is called, remember, this is it. It's called what's the name of the variable that contain users? The name is users. So it's a list, right? We need to be able to add. But then the list is too long, so I want to keep the first 3. For the rest of them, I want to comment them out for now. For now, let me comment all these guys out, right? Let me hot restart so that we can have like small number, and then with that small number, when we add an item, we can be able to see it added, right? That's what I want you to do. So this is it. Click on submit there. So let me click on cancel. Now let's go in and add a new user now. Okay, so we are done. So now let's, from this point, we are going to now so if there's no error, we are going to continue. So add the users. Now add the user, add to users. So add to users. Oh, what's going on? Add to users. Okay, so each member is a map, right? So it's a map string dynamic. Each item in that list, new user is equal to, you say it's a map, right? And then in the map, what do we have? Each key, the first one is what? Name, right? and that name, we are going to supply the name that we just got. This is the name that we need to, the name of the key that we need to have. Let me go back and show you. Each member in the list has a key of name, last message, and time, right? So here, this is what is changing. Okay, this is what is changing, right? It just happened that the name, the variable that contains the actual name of the person we entered, also called name, but then this one is the key, and then we don't care what happens here, right? This is what going to be the variable that we're going to submit there. That's why, for that reason, I went back here. So when I'm creating this, I know that okay, we are adding a new user. That new user should also take the format like those people that are already in the list. So you have a key called name, and then this variable, the value against that name is going to be the variable one we have here, the one we collected from the controller here, right? After checking for if it's empty or error, anything, everything is passed, everything passed, then we're now ready to now use that and put it against this key. Now the next key inside is last message. Then we are going to pass the message that we take from the controller, right? For the time, for the time, see the colon is outside the quotation mark, so keep that in mind. For the time, right now we haven't figured the time thing yet. Yeah, so I'm going to add just something there for now, right? All of them, all new ones are going to have this time 4:56 p.m. But then we'll work with time, right? And I will show you how we're going to change this thing in future. But right now we have a map, right? That we have prepared the user now, right? We prepared the user to have this format that is similar to the list that we are going to add to. So now we are going to call the list. So first one, this comment is, let's say, prepare user, prepare the new user as to have same type, to be of same type in the users list, or let's say original list, right? So we have made it, and it's also a map because every member in that users list, each of them is a map. Okay, so now after we are done, now add to the list, right? So I'm going to the list A. The list is users. Add to the users list. So that users dot add new user. Yes. So now we are now adding a new user. This is not going to work. Why? Okay, let's try it first. It's going to work, but it's not really going to work as we intended, right? Okay, so let me say Francis something is here. Okay, so let's click on submit, right? Click on submit. Shouldn't we see it added to, we shall see it added to this, right? Let me refresh and see. You see it's added, but it's not responding immediately on the UI. Why? Because we, after adding this, we need to call what? Set state. Remember, we are calling set state, not dialog set state, because we want this change, the UI, to trigger a rebuild on, we want it to trigger a rebuild on the background page, not the dialog one. So we are using the set state for this screen. The dialog set state is for just for the UI change on the dialog. Okay, so let's keep the difference in mind. Let's go back, and now so Francisca, then I'm going to submit. You see it's added in automatically, right? I cancel this, the Francisca is also added. All right, so now let me delete Francisca. Let me delete Francis. Let's go back. So if I click on it, we are still having the old thing that we entered. We don't want that to happen, so let me cancel it. So what you need to do is that after you add a new user, you need to make sure that we clear the message. So you're going to say, okay, after adding new user, clean the error variable. Okay, do internal cleaning of controllers and errors, right? because we are done adding you, we are done adding. So what we need to do is that we need to say, okay, message name controller dot clear. You need to clear it, right? So that we will not have the original one. Then the controller, we need to say message dot clear, message controller dot clear. Then you clear the message controller as well. What's the next thing? I'll clear the name. Then I need to clear the errors ones too. So the error will be cleared automatically when we are no more there, right? Okay, to be cleared. So we need to do that in when we also do cancel. When we cancel to, we need to have the same thing. Yeah, right. We need to cancel them. Okay, we need to clear them. Let's restart or hot restart and see what happens. Okay, so let me click on this. Francis, there was that, but let me just click on submit. For now, there's nothing entered here. They say I should enter something. I've entered, so I click on submit, and it's added, right? And then you see the name and then this thing, they are all gone, right? They give me space to enter the next one too. Okay, so and then this thing is added. So now if I go back again, those things are not there. Enter something here, I enter something here. Then let me go and cancel. Like I don't want to add. I come back, they are all gone. So everything, a new chat is open for me. So let's add Francisca. My phone is going low. So let me submit. Right after I submit, I want this thing to go. I want the dialogue to also go. Right, I don't want it to be watching my face. So what we do is that where are you? Where are you? That I add using you clear these controllers. Let's make sure that we do navigator dot pop context. Yeah, the pop will make sure that everything that guy will go. It will not be watching our face. Let's do hot restart. Okay. Okay, it's ready. Let's add. Let me click on submit. Right now there are errors, so let's Kwame. Oh no. Kwame Junior. Bring umbrella. Right. So let me click on submit. You see, it's gone. It's gone. Once I'm done, it is gone. So we've added Kwame Junior to the list as well. Right. So you can delete any item, right? And then you can now safely add an item and with all errors controlled. Okay. Submit. Then yeah, everything submitted well and nicely done. You can control that now. So yeah, this is the basic dialogue thing, right? You can modify this redesign this thing to be looking very, very nice as to suit your demand. But then the basic concept needs to be understood. This is being doing it with alert dialogue.